Hey, how you doing? My name's Mike Squires, and this is the Couchers Podcast, episode number 152. 152. And my guest, Brian Baker. Now, Brian Baker is a punk rock legend. I don't know what else to say. He's been in bands that have influenced all of the bands that you love, if you care about punk rock at all. Pretty much. A hell of a nice guy. I'd never spoke to him. I didn't really know much about him before we talked. I know his bands, but you know, I'm a little thick. So I had a great time talking to him. And we've got a really fun Couchers video planned that we're building right now. So that should be a really good time as well. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoy the Couchers Podcast, please consider supporting us at Patreon, patreon.com/couchriffs. Also, check out couchriffs.com. You want to find yourself some Couch Riffs merchandise. You can find a link there. All of our content is posted there. You'll be able to find everything. Lastly, thank you to River City Guitars for your support of Couch Riffs. River City Guitars is a very cool little guitar store in Spokane, Washington. RiverCityGuitars.com. At River City Guitars on social media. Follow them there. You know, they get stuff in, they post it on social media, and it's sold before it ever makes the website. So go check them out over there. If you have something to sell, every day is a buying day at River City Guitars. Give them a call, 509-818-7693, or send them an email, sales.rivercityguitars@gmail.com. I've known these guys for a long time. They're great folks. They're going to take good care of you. They're trustworthy, honest folks. They're not going to try and take you for a ride and tell you that your valuable thing is not worth anything. There's a chance that you think that something's more valuable than it is, though. Very good chance. I mean, all my stuff is, God, it's so valuable. Jesus Christ, what am I talking about? Thanks for listening. I really appreciate it. Don't forget the golden rule. Treat people the way you want to be treated. And don't be a fucking asshole.
Hey.
Yeah.
Hi.
Dude, I'm so sorry.
What? Like I got
well, you know, I'm easily confused, this kid here. You know, I'm pretty simple.
That remains to be seen.
Well, don't worry. That's one way I will never disappoint.
I like that hammer back there. Is that a...
Oh, that is a hammer. Yeah, that is the Steve Stevens.
Yeah, the Steve Stevens. Look at that.
Huh?
Yeah.
I don't know.
You got lots of cool shit too. Look at that Yamaha back there. Is it SG? What is that? SG 1000? SG.
It's a 1820. I'm a Yamaha enthusiast.
And I'm an enthusiast, but I'm not knowledgeable about the brand. I just know I love that heavy body shape.
Oh yeah.
And every time I go to Japan, I try to buy one, and I get there, and they weigh 13 pounds. And they're not that cheap there.
No.
Yeah, it's like you're not, it's no scam.
This one was a later one. I got this in 2012 or 11 or 10. I don't know. I got it in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And so it's a little different than the old ones. It's not a neck through. It's basically like a Les Paul.
Yeah.
But I had a few Les Pauls at the time when I got this. And I love Les Pauls, but you know, they're when you find a great one, it's great.
There are bad ones.
There are bad ones. You know,
yes.
There's bad everythings.
Yeah.
This is the first time that a conversation has opened up with someone talking about how what I have going on is cool. But I mean, look behind you. You have you've got it. You got the full deal here.
Well, I mean, I haven't had anywhere to go, so I've had a chance to tidy up.
Are you doing recording at home through
Yeah,
this year?
I have been. I've been doing. I'm really kind of a neophyte with recording, but I've managed to learn how to do enough to be able to send people tracks like, "Hey, will you play a solo on this song?" Okay, I know how to do that now,
Right.
and I can do that. And I have I'm getting, I have some reasonable monitors and a Kemper that's been really helpful as far as
Yeah,
being able
great.
to just whip something up. But I don't really know what I'm doing.
I'm embarrassed to say that until this year, I did not, and I've had people ask me to do things and send them tracks and stuff, and I've been doing terrible work for years and years and years. This year is the first year that I learned how to export WAV files out of Logic. I'm embarrassed for myself.
Don't be, because I'm right there with you. Like this was I learned it all this year or last year and this year, basically since I guess I've been home since March 11th of 2020. So, some extra time. You pick up.
Was the 11th? Was that an official day of when
No,
everything?
I think that's just when I'm trying to remember what happened. I was in Washington D.C. getting a physical. My doctor's in D.C. even though I moved to New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I went to get it, we were already elbowing instead of shaking hands.
Right.
And I got home from that, and it was basic. And my wife had just flown on her last flight from wherever she was. She was in Florida, and I think it was the 11th or the 12th. That was like she got home, I got home from DC, and that was it. We just hadn't, that was our lockdown, and it's pretty much still there. I mean, that's what we're doing. So,
what was the last gig you played?
I think it was the last real gig I played was in either Australia or South America. I think it might have been Australia. I
Yeah.
have to look. It was in November or December of 2019. I'm not sure which, but it was far away.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been I said it, if I've said it once, I've said it a million times. This year has been a fucking bugger.
Not great. I mean, not great. I think like many of us, when it first hit and you didn't really have a perspective on what it was going to be, and you're like, well, this is going to be a tough 3 months.
Right.
So I'm going to learn French. And I'm going to work on my garden, and I'm going to paint that attic room that we never go to. And, like all of this, I tried to make it into sort of, Bob Vila meets George Clooney, kind of just, I'm going to be a worldly. And, that momentum lasted about 3 weeks. I grew some shitty tomatoes.
Hey.
And I live in New Jersey.
Tomatoes, though.
Yeah, I mean, I grew tomatoes, but it's like I'm standing there looking at these things that aren't great that the squirrels keep taking, and I'm like, I'm in the middle of central New Jersey. Like, you can just get tomatoes from the guy with the truck. He's right
really
there.
Good ones, right?
Really, really good ones, and he's been doing this for 80 years. Maybe I should go to his truck
and support him
and do all. I mean, it was a tough transition.
It's funny, though. We kind of live in a time where we all think we can go onto YouTube, search for something, and surely we can do it better than someone who's done it as their profession for their entire life.
Yeah. Oh, that's easy.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I watched a video, and that's how I did it. Well, and then your hot water heater leaks.
The problem is that sometimes you're successful with that.
Right. No, it's dangerous.
Like then you're like, I don't think my oven temperature is right. Into cooking, right? And I'm like, okay, so I look and I see I have like just a temperature gauge, like, an old one, I think from my mom. And I see that the stove is like 25 degrees too cold. And I look on the internet for my stove, and I find out I can just take this knob off and then use this small thing, and I can adjust and basically do this.
Calibrate it.
We never need to hire anybody again. Like a little small victory will fool you.
Yeah,
and that makes it worse. Or an automotive one too. It's like, oh wow, okay, so you can just pop this panel out, and that's where that connector is, and it's just plug and play. Look at me, I'm an auto mechanic. But then a real thing happens and you're fucked.
What's the biggest thing that you've overstepped on?
Wow. I mean, there's been so many.
Same. I know better than to mess with any of my musical equipment. Like I have never, ever been a gear tinkerer.
Yeah.
But yet still everything fails on the road.
I've had some motorcycle issues where I'm just like, oh, we'll just take the carbs off and clean them. And the bike's sold with no carbs on it. Like, that's just what happens. Like, that was a big one to me, I remember, because I was kind of young when I did that. And it was like my only mode of transportation. And I'm like, okay, this is an easy fix.
Do you still ride a bike?
Yeah, I do.
What do you ride?
I have a bad bike right now that I don't like. I have a 2009 Street Bob that has a lot of miles on it. It's just not fun to ride, really.
Right.
I didn't have a bike for a long time, and I moved to New Jersey, and I'm like at the Jersey Shore in this sort of quasi-rural area. And so because I wasn't in the middle of Washington, D.C., it was like, you know what, I can actually ride a bike here, and there's a good chance of survival. And just friends of friends, and someone had a bike for sale, and I was like, I've never had a Harley. I'm in New Jersey. I'm going to get a Harley. Maybe Bruce will hang out. Maybe, I'm going to do all this shit.
Yeah.
Tattoos. I can have a Harley. And I got it, and it's fun for an hour, but it's not. It's slow, and it handles bad, and it rattles, and it doesn't stop. And also now there's this, this unfortunate, signaling. There's a little too much MAGA going on with a Harley, so I have to compensate with my costume.
Right.
No, I'm not one of them. I'm fine. I'm wearing Vans.
No, you got to get a giant flag that you fly off the back of it that just says Black Lives Matter. Just a huge flag. Or a big Biden flag. Can you imagine? Like nobody is. I haven't seen a single Biden flag. Can you imagine that?
Well, because flags in general are, they send signals that perhaps isn't appropriate for modern democracy, like the big flags with the names on it. But actually, I saw on my computer a nice, huge 4-wheel drive F-250 with a big Black Lives Matter banner off the back of it.
Amazing.
Cool. Yeah.
I live up here in America. Don't you know? I live in the Hudson Valley.
Oh, you do you?
Yeah. And so
I've been to America.
Yeah. No, I know you have. So I came here by I'm from Seattle, ended up in Brooklyn, and then me and my wife bought a place up here a couple years ago, which was fortunate through all this. It's been great to have this place,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting up here. There are a lot of city folks and city folks that left the city to come up here. Like we're right near Hudson.
Yeah.
It's a really cool little town.
There's kind of the same thing for me. I was in DC for 40 years, and don't you know, I moved out. I think we bought this house like November 8th, 2016. Like, you know what? I've lived in DC pretty much my whole life. I know what the tone of the administration does. And the city was already getting to be too much. And we're like, we have a bunch of friends up here. It's basically Asbury Park is where I live.
Yeah.
But I'm the next town over. It's called Neptune.
We have a mutual friend.
I'm
Paul.
sure we have many. Paul Callie?
Yeah, that's right.
You know Paul Callie?
I do.
Does Rich live near you?
Well, I'm a coffee person.
Oh, you're a coffee guy.
I'm a coffee industry person.
I love Paul. He's one of the people I miss most that I don't get to see very much anymore.
He's a sweet man.
Great.
Yeah.
Great dude. Good, very good friend of mine. That's nice.
Yeah.
so I did kind of the same thing. I got out of a city at the right time. I mean, I was doing it it was just time because I was tired of living in a row house, and it just, the city experience, I got old enough where I'm like, I don't need to be involved in this. Like my job is to go to major population centers all over the world about half the year. So when I'm not doing that, why don't I live somewhere and just mellow, kind of near the beach and quiet? And then all this happened, and now I can't wait to get out of this fucking hick town. I mean, where's the culture?
In my town, all the Trump flags have been swapped out for "Don't Tread on Me" flags.
The flags just went down here. I haven't seen a swap.
They swapped them out, and which I call them "Don't Read Around Me" flags.
Well, some people have ideas about things that aren't right.
The thing is, everyone thinks they're right.
Sure they do. But I am. That's the difference.
Of course.
And I'm sure you are too.
Yeah. Most all the time until someone proves me wrong. But I'm not trying to hear that.
No, when I'm corrected, I'm gracious about it. I accept input that is not ideal. I will take it. It's not precious.
Right. So you never lived on the West Coast?
I lived on the West Coast for, I believe, 9 years.
Oh, okay.
And then that's when I joined Bad Religion, and Greg Graffin, the singer, lived in Ithaca in upstate New York. And I realized that I should be near the songwriter. And also I was kind of done with LA too. I mean, I just was not having a good time there. And, I'm like, do I want to spend the rest of my life here, just, every couple of years saving up and moving a little further west? And, or do I want to go back to like where I'm from, which is DC and the East Coast and a real city, and, it all, and my mom was still alive and she was in DC, and, it just was like, it's time to go. And so that's when I left LA, was because of Bad Religion, really. So. Oh, it's good. But I was there for, I think 9 years total.
That's a long time. I don't know. I never lived in LA. I thought maybe it would be something I would do, but
it's not a good place to be poor. And that's another thing. That I was poor.
Where is a good place to be poor?
Where's it? What? I'm sorry?
Where is a good place to be poor? Because it wasn't Brooklyn.
New Jersey, my friend. It's a great place for that. Say you're never going to work again because your industry just completely imploded due to some unforeseen circumstance. I recommend this area. It's good.
It sure is beautiful down there. My wife and I were just talking about taking another trip there sometime because we had ourselves a weekend there that we really enjoyed.
Yeah. It's cool, for sure.
Other than growing some shitty tomatoes, and fixing the temperature control on your oven, what have you done? Did you organize this studio space?
No, I kind of had it. I just was. It's been pretty much the same. I'm just. I don't know, moving things around, basically.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take this amp and put it over there now. That takes like half a day.
Can you play the drums?
Yeah, but not very. I mean, I couldn't be in a band unless it was all like, that great sort of Tom Petty slow pocket later, like Echo, that era Petty. I could do that probably well enough to be in a bar band, but I'm not. I just drum to. Here's my idea.
Echo is one of my favorite Tom Petty albums.
Mine too, by far.
I'm not sure why do people celebrate that album as much?
I'm really not on any forums.
Yeah.
so I don't know, but
you're not in the subreddit.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's a huge record for me. And I think it's, what is that, 1999? Probably 2000, something there.
Yeah, it was it was in that, like, between 98 and 2000.
So it fits. That would be 1999.
Yeah. One of those 3 years. Yeah.
I think I can't remember specifically, but I'm sure that it hit me in a real, at a time in my life when I was ready for that. I don't know. Maybe there's
Yeah.
some, but I just love that. I love that groove. I like later Heartbreakers, later Tom. I love all of it,
Yeah.
But as for what I'm doing here, I have been actually somewhat busy considering what's going on. We had the 40th anniversary Bad Religion tour and celebration was slated to happen in 2020. And of course that was suspended. And there's a lot of discount merch available for that. You're making pillows, or maybe you want to, maybe there's some campers who need, like, warm clothes at night. There's probably some hoodies with.
Dude, what if, I think that's something that people don't even take into consideration, is the amount of merch that was purchased in preparation for all the festival, all of the touring that was happen.
I mean, for us, we're actually we've been doing it for a while, so we didn't really get stuck with anything, but just conceptually, it's good to laugh about. Like, we don't have that. But so what we did have is we had a book come out, the first official biography of Bad Religion. It's called Do What You Want. And so that, working and doing interviews and talking to people about that book that came out like in April, I was kind of busy doing talking to a lot of people and doing book stuff and a lot of virtual book stuff. And that kind of took up a good chunk of time. Then I also had a record. I'm in a band called Fake Names, and we had a record that came out, I think, in May. And we had recorded it before the pandemic, obviously. But Fake Names is myself and Dennis Lixon from Refused, Michael Hampton, who was in Embrace, who's the best Discord band, by the way, and SOA, and Johnny Temple plays bass, and he's in Girls Against Boys and Soulside, and it's just these are guys I went to high school with, but their pedigrees are great too.
It's a super group.
Yeah, but God, we tried so hard to find an alternative. That was a theme of a lot of my discussions: is how do you find an alternative term,
right?
It's not embarrassing.
Super duper group.
I don't know. We kind of decided that supergroup has been in the vernacular for at least 50 years now, 50 or 60 years. And maybe it just embarrasses us personally, but not everybody. Maybe there are people who are like, oh, das ist ein Supergroup. Supergroup. This is good. Right? And we're just like, by not saying that, then we're ruining it for them. So,
I mean, Bad Company was a supergroup, and nobody poo-poos on that.
Well, the first album is so good.
It's
ridiculous. He can still sing too.
Yeah.
Still sing. I had this Fake Names thing. So that came out, and I had all the requisite stuff with Fake Names. And same thing, talking to a lot of people, and we did a lot of, visual stuff, put together little videos, and did what we could. And so that had some momentum. And then I'm also, because I'm in a lot of bands. It's one of the things I do. I'm in another band called Beach Rats, and that's here at the beach. Beach Rats is me and Brian and Pete from Bouncing Souls, and the singer's Ari from Lifetime. And if you're, this is like New Jersey hardcore royalty. And so it's really fun for me to play with these guys. And we wrote and recorded a full-length record, which we are now, we're actually shopping it. I think we're shopping. I'm kind of out of the business end of it. I'm kind of like, when the amp turns off, I'm out.
It's a term. Shopping your record is a term you just don't hear thrown around much anymore.
I don't know. I mean, my guess is that's. I don't even know what that means. I mean, I know people who will put it out, but I'm not running that show. I'm just kind of like, just hanging out with those guys and writing songs together. And we practice at my house.
Here.
which is really great. Yeah, where I'm sitting right now. And what's great about it is we found out that we could all wear masks and be far enough away from each other to be able to rehearse here.
Oh, that's a good home.
That was such a great, that when we, we probably figured that out in maybe June. And it was like, wow, we really can do this. And so that was really great because, as you know, just being stuck at home and being, just so not being able to have any kind of interaction with people on that level is really hard. But we got this great record out of it, and I'm sure it's going to be out, it'll be out soon. So I did that.
So you guys recorded that record here in your basement?
No, we recorded it at Lake House Studios, which is in Asbury Park.
Oh, wow.
What we did is we wrote and rehearsed it here. We made it here, and then we went and we recorded there. Because it's a great local studio, and they gave us a great deal because, surprisingly enough, they weren't having as much business. It seems like I don't know why, but then people just weren't showing up to record as much due to the deadly pandemic that was so heavily mismanaged that we were unable to do anything really. So, yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what I didn't know? I'm terribly naive about a lot of hardcore. I didn't know that Bouncing Souls were from New Jersey.
That's like not knowing Agnostic Front is from New York City.
Is that right?
Yeah, no, they're like one of those bands. It's like Bouncing Souls, New Jersey, with the shape of the state on the T-shirts and the fucking
PCNJ,
everything. They probably have 2 singles called New Jersey. I mean, they are easily the most important punk band.
Why did I think that they were from Oakland?
I don't know, but that's wrong.
Apparently. Well, I'm a ding-a-ling.
Oakland, of all places. Tulsa. I thought they were from Tulsa.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It seemed right.
I'm here to learn.
Yeah. Well, I'm here. I'll help you along. I've learned some things. I know a little about hardcore.
I have a feeling that you know a thing or two about hardcore.
A little bit. Yeah.
You've been in some of you're in like the most important bands in American punk rock history you've been in, essentially. Arguably.
I would say I'm incredibly lucky that I managed to be in 2 bands that are in the punk rock starter kit.
Right.
Fuck you, Mom. I am now punk. All right, well, here's your starter kit, and it's got Black Flag, and it has Circle Jerks, and it has Bad Religion, and it has Minor Threat, and it has Descendants, and that's the starter kit. This is where you learn, and Dead Kennedys.
Right.
Well, I got in 2 of them, so that's a miracle, but that's really the whole. I mean, that's why we're sitting here talking. Other stuff I did is fine, but those 2 just somehow, both exactly the same kind of band, just accidental high school bands, dudes making music after school, no idea of anyone caring about it for any length of time. It was just of the moment, and it was Bad Religion on the West Coast and Minor Threat on the East Coast. So it was dumb luck and timing.
How old are you when Minor Threat starts?
15.
You're 15 years old, and you've been playing guitar for
I started playing guitar when I was 8.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's not easy.
I'm hoping to get good at it at some point. That's my goal.
Me too.
Before this pandemic is over, I'm going to figure this shit out.
It's going to be tomatoes, fucking a new fence around your garden that has, you gave up on the tomatoes. You're going to grow something easy like kale. And then
cucumbers.
Yeah.
Peppers are great.
Peppers.
Squirrels don't like them.
Blowing up this year. 8 years old. Did you grow up in a musical family?
I not really. I was an only child, and my parents were good lefties. My father was a producer, a television news producer. So I'm 8 years old, and we live in DC, and my dad is producing the WTOP, which is the CBS affiliate. He's producing the 11 o'clock news. And he has like a sheepskin coat and long hair and smokes a pipe and has aviator glasses. And they have a record collection. And my mom she works for PBS. And it's just this kind of DC media, DC people. And I went to a hippie private school called Georgetown Day School, which was the small classes, bring your dog to school, no shoes, call your teacher by the first name. Hey, Kevin, I think you're wrong on that, Kev, and you're 7. That kind of life. So I'm around their music. Fortunately, they have good musical taste. A lot of Beatles, Stones, Elton John, and they really like music, but no one plays it. But I went to the first time I saw live music performed, I was the Bart Simpson. Want a guitar? Can I have a guitar? When can I get a guitar? Can I get a guitar? Can I please have a guitar?
Do you remember what that show was that you saw?
I was at something called Field Day that they had at my elementary school, and it was like a big picnic that everybody went to at the end of the year at this park nearby. And there was a band playing at this field day. And it was, at the time, I thought I was seeing like Cream.
Right.
Or Hendrix. But what it was probably a bunch of like stoned middle schoolers who were, because they were 12, they were grown men to me.
Right.
And they probably, they set up their equipment and played Smoke on the Water or whatever, it was a cover band probably from older students. And I just would not leave. I watched them open, they like starting to set up, and I'm like, oh, fuck the sack race.
Right.
No, I'm not going to do any of that stuff. Like I just basically sat there and watched every single thing they did and was just completely entranced. It was a weird thing.
Before that moment, was rock and roll music on your radar? I guess you guys had the record collection at home.
I liked music, but I never thought about playing it.
Right.
I don't think. You know what? Actually, now in retrospect, my parents were even cooler than I thought. When I was 3, I got a 3-year-old kid's drum set. And I only remember this because there's a picture, and I'm playing like the Shoot the Moon drum kit, and it's really it's not sophisticated enough to actually make music on. Right. And I also recall, I think probably when I was 5, I had a plastic guitar, like from Toys R Us.
Right.
That I would kind of just do this on. And I didn't really know how to do any, I didn't know how to make sound come out of it other than just, but none of these things inspired me to try to be a musician, but they were around.
But seeing these older kids, that was sort of like the lightning bolt
moment. It was electric guitar too. I'm sure that there have been a lot of well-meaning, the kind of private school I went to, I guarantee you there was a lot of like, I'm going to bring in my acoustic guitar.
Right. Yeah. You probably sang Yellow Submarine a few times.
Do you guys know who John Sebastian is? I'm sure that happened a lot, but this was the first time I saw electric instruments.
Yeah. And
I really remember clearly that the bass player was a guy, he had red hair and he was playing an EBO. I don't know what kind of amp he had, but he had an EBO, and probably started a lot of my love affair with ESG. I don't remember what the guitar player had, but I was kind of in front of just the way the stage was set. I was in front of the bass player.
How long did you have to badger your parents before they were like, okay?
Well, that was good. I did pretty well because field day was probably, when does school end? June?
June.
Right? Christmas, got a guitar.
Nice.
Yeah. Christmas I got.
You stayed on them for that long.
Well, it never went away. I don't think I was, I wasn't, it was a big thing. I really wanted to play. And it's really funny because my best friend at the time Michael Hampton from Fake Names, who was in Embrace and SOA and The Faith. What did he get for Christmas that year? An acoustic guitar.
Is that right?
Yes. We both got guitars. And we both started to play together, like on sleepovers.
Incredible.
Crazy, but true.
I love this.
Yeah. Yeah. We wrote songs. Our first song was, we wrote a song called Bus Stop. And I'm sure you can figure out what it was about.
Think about what you know, don't you?
You know, I mean, look at all the things it's got. You've got waiting, you have expectation, you have travel.
It sounds like a Stone song already.
You've got the man, the corporate entity that's running the bus.
Yeah.
I mean, it's endless, the topics. I don't really recall a lot of the lyrics.
Did you guys have a band name for the two of you?
No, I don't think so. Possibly, but I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Did you excel quickly, or was it a long game?
That's what happened. That's kind of what made it stick, is that I got really good really quickly and then plateaued by about 10, which I still am right there. I mean, I'm not exaggerating. Like I got really good quickly and then just stayed there. And it's fine because it's serviceable. But my father would take me on weekends. There was an Italian, my dad was really into cooking, and there was an Italian deli in a town called Wheaton, which was outside of DC. And on Saturdays, we would go to the deli, Marchione's Deli, and it was next to Chuck Levin's, which was a local music store.
Yeah. Legendary place.
Yeah. And what happened, I don't really know how the negotiations went on because I was just a kid, but basically my dad would just leave me at the guitar store and then go to the deli and do whatever he does. Maybe he went and had a drink. He's friends with the people who owned it. I don't know, but I was always kind of just getting left there. And eventually what happened is I befriended the people who were there, and they would set me up with a guitar and an amp and just let me play like in the window, like basically in sort of it wasn't in the middle of the store. It was kind of in this section where all the pedals were and where guys, like where you would get strings and picks and chords, and there were a couple dudes who were like at a counter. They'd set me up there and I would jam.
Right.
And they'd keep bringing me different guitars. Want to try a Strat? And I did this a lot. Like this was a weekend thing. I was the kid who jammed in the window at Chuck Levin's.
And so what kind of stuff are you playing? Because you're into whatever's hot at the time. You're listening to...
I'm playing Cat Scratch Fever. I'm playing...
we won't say his name.
Well, I mean... I think we don't know how that turned out. But, when you're 9...
It's amazing how many killer riffs he churned out and how much influence he had over really great music.
Yeah, well, I mean, but when you think about it, there's a lot of interesting art that came out of Nazi Germany too. So, he's just because he's a piece of shit doesn't mean he didn't write a couple good riffs.
That's right.
But of course, I've canceled him now. I will not listen to him. And I was very into the Beatles, deep Beatles. I learned a lot of Beatles songs. The first solo I learned was I Want You. That was my first solo I learned. And I would just play. I'd also just noodle. Like I've never been really good at being in a cover band because I just make shit up. I just sit there and make shit up.
Right.
Yeah. And that was cool. So I did that. And that's when I knew that I was good, because that was good enough where they would let this happen. I mean, if I couldn't play, they wouldn't do this. Who would want to sit next to them? Who would want to have like some infant playing Stairway to Heaven wrong? You just let them play a song and then escort them out quietly.
Were there a lot of kids your age that were playing music at the time? Or did you meet kids to play with there?
No, I didn't meet kids who played with there. I mean, as I said, Michael Hampton played, and then there was some kids who were a little older than I was at my school who played.
Mm-hmm.
And my first band, I think I was 11, and it was called Silent Thunder.
Yeah.
We had T-shirts,
Is
and it
that
was
right?
yeah, and it was the drummer was an old, like a couple grades older. He was old enough to be like a grown up, like he probably shaved.
Right.
Yeah, something like that. So what? He was probably 15 and just
Sure.
happened to be Serbian. I don't know, but and it was older kids and some kids who didn't go to my school. It was very my recollections of it is weird, but it was a cover band, and and I don't really remember playing shows. I remember rehearsing. I think we probably played
And so what kind of stuff are you guys doing? Are you guys still busting out Cat Scratch Fever?
Kiss,
Yes. Yes.
and we played, whatever, what's standard cover band stuff in 1975.
You're knocking out Strutter and She.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm sure we played are we into REO at that point in 76, or is that a little early for
UFO.
Yeah, I would like to think we played UFO, but we didn't.
Foreigner hadn't come along yet, right?
No, but we probably played Bad Company. And I know we played like Rebel Rebel. I think we played I don't know. Just
some guitar rock.
Eagles.
Some Eagles.
Cheap Trick. Definitely.
Oh, yes.
Definitely we played Cheap Trick and that kind of stuff. Just, radio stuff.
So, I mean, 1978, when did disco hit? 79? 78, 79?
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, it was happening then, right?
Yeah.
And you guys were just like, fuck that. We play guitars.
I think we're just too young for like cocaine in New York City.
Right.
I just think we weren't old enough to be.
We have plenty of time for that.
Yeah, we had lots of time for that later. So I know this band was not making a stand. This was just this, it was like the first time I remember being in an actual band was this Silent Thunder project. And I moved. My dad got a new job in Detroit in 1978. And I moved to Detroit. I went to a new school, and I came with a guitar, and I formed a cover band with other dudes at the school. And I went to a big school that was we had to wear uniforms, and it was big, and it was like a very conservative kind of red school.
Yeah.
And I was a weirdo, and I was tiny, and I had long hair, and no one had, it was very weird. This place was probably, 15 years behind.
Right.
In what was going on. It was in Grosse Pointe Farms, Michigan, if I'm not mistaken. No, I lived in Grosse Pointe Farms. It was another one of the Grosse Pointes. I don't remember which one. There are a number of them. You have to call it Cusacks and find out.
Right. Did your old man get fired from that job? Because you ended up back in DC pretty shortly after that, right?
My dad didn't, actually my dad did get fired from that job.
Good for him.
But he also then decided that he got fired from the job, left my mom, and went to Atlanta.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so my mom and I are there in Detroit, and I'm playing in Hammer-On, which I have pictures from. Yeah. And we're playing 1970. We're playing like Silent Thunder stuff, but we're a little better at it.
Yeah.
Sure. We're a little better at it. And
like
I know
attenuated thunder.
We played like the talent show at school. We play a dance.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. Backyard party.
He had some minor celebrity.
Fuck yeah, local dude. But anyway, when my dad split, my mom's like, well, I don't want to be here in, MAGA, Michigan.
Right.
I'm out of here. And she went back to DC. And I went back to DC and went to the same school that I had gone to before. And the difference is I get back to DC and everyone at my school that I was friends with is punk.
And it's 1980 at this point?
This is 1980. Yeah. This is the like February of 80. And everybody's punk. And I don't even know what punk is other than Sid Vicious killed Nancy.
Right.
Then killed himself. That's all I knew. I'd never even heard punk music. And Michael Hampton, you may remember him from the Christmas where we got the guitars. He's also in Fake Names, the band I'm in now.
Yes.
Michael Hampton had all the records.
He takes you aside and he's like, look, man, this is where it's at.
He's not that kind of dude. He was more like, you want to hang out? Okay. And then he'd put on like a Eater 7-inch or like adverts. Like he immediately had all the good shit, like the obscure British stuff. He had a great record collection because, you know, he'd been into it for much longer than I was.
Right.
So basically through him and a number of other people who I went to school with initially. And then when I came back to school, like Guy Picciotto, who was in my grade, who you may remember from the band Fugazi. I don't know if people are familiar with this.
I think people know about them.
It was post-minor threat effort in DC. Like Guy had been went punk, and just a lot of the people I knew. So it didn't take me very long to just go, well, I'm doing that. And so to basically fit in, I joined a tiny subculture that everybody hated.
So you're 13 at this point?
No, I'm 15 in February 25th. Yeah, I'm 15 right when I come back. And I remember specifically because in Michigan, you could ride a moped when you turned 15.
All right.
And I was so pissed that we were leaving because we were leaving before I could legally ride a moped. And I got to DC and you couldn't do that.
You already had the two-wheel obsession.
So you had to wait till you were 16 in DC.
Right.
So that was just, you know, who cares if my dad left? How dare you do this to me, Mom? You know.
You know, it's hard being a kid.
Yes. Don't you know I'm an only child, damn it. Now I'm going to go punk and show you.
You could focus a lot of that angst.
I really wasn't that mad, and Mom was cool. I mean, the first thing I did, when I first cut my hair off, I dyed it with her hair dye, and I wore her clothes because she had like hip clothes with like zippers in them.
Yeah.
You know, I was basically wearing my mom's kind of fashion clothes, but then writing like "fuck" on them.
Right.
Whatever you do.
Your mom was always supportive of your endeavors, your musical endeavors?
Yeah, she was.
Did she come see Minor Threat?
Yeah, she did.
What a cool lady. Is she still with us?
No, she's
I'm
not.
sorry.
No, she was cool. I mean, you know, like all cool people, there's always a dark side, but
yeah, sure.
That's what makes them cool. Yeah, she was great. She was incredibly supportive. And obviously, you know, I did have a little bit of an advantage of that, you know, my parents had split up and my mom, we're living at a friend's house in DC. And it's basically like, whatever Brian wants to do to handle this is fine. And so she was very, you know, really just let me do what I wanted. Because I think she figured I needed to work all this out. But yeah, it was very, very lucky to have her. And so that's kind of how things progress. I was punk by, I started to wear, okay, so I get there in February and I'm punk by summer and I'm in Minor Threat in like October of 80.
Holy shit.
There you go.
Did you, there's no way you had any idea of what an important thing you were getting yourself involved in. You're fucking 15 years old. Right? I mean, you haven't even perfected picking your nose yet.
No, I know it wasn't supposed. I didn't think anything of it. Really, it was like, I mean, I say this all the time because it's true, but our scene was so small, and I think, the only person who played an instrument that wasn't in a band. That's, I think, why I got in the band. Like when Michael had formed a band called the Extorts with Lyle Pressler, we were all at GDS, the same school. Lyle was older than us. And Lyle was the singer in the Extorts. I wasn't in a band, but I was like, I'm really into the Extorts. Like I was it was my first, like I'm part of the crew,
Yeah.
And Lyle played guitar and wanted to be a guitar player. And it just turns out that the Teen Idols, which is a band with Ian and Jeff from Minor Threat that predated Minor Threat, was breaking up. And so Ian and Jeff were forming a new band, and they got Lyle to play guitar. And because I went to school with Lyle, and Lyle knew me because I was Hampton's friend, he's like, I got a guy at my school who's also punk, who can play an instrument. Okay, bring him. That's how it was. There's no vetting.
Right. It wasn't like, meet me at SIR. You're going to stand in a line for a audition. Yeah.
And I had never played bass in my life.
Yeah.
I just went, okay. And I went and I picked up the bass, which was taller than I was. And I started to play chords on it. And Ian said, well, you play this, one note at a time on a bass is what I do.
Right.
I went, oh, okay. Dun, 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 dun. And that was it.
And so
there you go.
I have to add this one little bit. My favorite Bernie meme was the one which I'm sure 100 people sent to you.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. The porch Bernie.
So amazing.
Yeah.
Were you happy to see that?
Oh, ecstatic. How great is it to be part of the conversation at all?
Right.
To be part of that conversation now. I mean, of course, I'm a big fan of Minor Threat. I have to say.
Right.
I really am. And I'm, I'm just, I get a huge kick out of that stuff. I liked the Golden Girls one they did. That was kicking around, that meme.
I bought my wife a parody T-shirt of that, that had the Sabbath faces on it. You probably saw that one too.
I have the coffee mug.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So good.
Yeah, love it.
So you guys are all still, you're a sophomore in high school at this point.
Yeah.
How do you guys operate?
Well, so we start playing shows. Basically nothing really happened of note until 81 was the year where we made a record that came out, and we went and toured a little bit and played, kind of got mobile. Well, Ian and Jeff had graduated. They're older than Lyle and I. So I'm in I guess I'm in 11th grade. I don't know. Basically, here's the answer. Ian and Jeff didn't have to go to school anymore. I think Lyle had graduated too. I was still in school. My mom was cool. So we're going to go on a tour, and we're going to go play in Detroit. And we had our first tour was booked during the school year. And I know it was before. Fuck, my time. I'm sorry. My time is so bad with this because I know we started to go play shows and I was too young to drive. I remember that. And I know I got my license.
Your school was probably cool enough where you were like, I'm going on tour. And they were like, oh, we're going to figure out a way to accredit your life experience.
Yeah. And also, okay, well, I'm sure that the school cost $4.9 million fucking dollars too. I'm sure it was one of those, hey man, we're just in it, we just love everybody, and the tuition is $36,000.
Right, as long as the check
angel.
In.
Yeah, I'm sure. No, the school was cool about it, but actually not. I got thrown out after 11th grade, but I don't think it was related specifically to the Minor Threats touring profile. It had to do with more off the field behavior.
Good for you.
In school, I had some. I don't know. I had to work out some things.
Sure.
But I'm sorry I'm fuzzy on the actual timeline, but basically what was happening was that Minor Threat started playing and going and playing shows out of town, and my mom was cool enough where I just go do it. I know at one point, I think one trip, I mean, I know this is true, but I don't see how the math works. Oh, it totally does work because doesn't matter if I can drive or not. Ian was my guardian because I was under 18 and we were going to go to California. There was some kind of, I had to be like, have like some paperwork, some shit like that.
Really?
Yeah. There was some shit about that. I don't recall all the math.
But you had to have like a legal adult guardian.
Well, I'm crossing state lines.
Right.
I'm under 18. I'm with these, 3 older men. What, you gotta have some kind of paperwork, I would assume. I don't know.
When you guys traveled, was it just the band?
We always had somebody else. There was always another person. And sometimes 2, but usually 1. I think we had a sound man, Seth went the first time. I know we had Rich Moore, who was like he was a drummer. He was more of a stage guy, but I don't recall if we had just Rich. I think we did. I think we only had 1 extra person every time because we didn't have merch. So we didn't need a merch person.
No merch.
No. And we were children and we didn't know how things were done. And we didn't have a sound, I think Seth, when we had a sound man, it was because our friend Seth wanted to go on tour with us, and he happened to be a sound guy. So we had a sound man. And then Rich wasn't a sound man, but he wanted to go on tour with us, and he was a drummer, and he would help set up the equipment. So we had
gigs. Did you guys fly to California to play gigs, or did you drive across the country?
We drove. Yeah. All van.
And you guys did gigs all the way across the country?
Kind of. I mean, it was such a different time. It would be, you'd have like maybe 10 gigs you would think that would get you across the country, possibly, but some would fall through. Sometimes you wound up staying in Reno for a week.
Right.
I was reminded that happened. Like the first time I was going across California, we were in Reno. That's when we met 7 Seconds. Like, you just park. Or you'd go to towns to see other bands that you knew. Like, we don't have a show in Austin, but MDC are playing. So let's go to Austin and see MDC.
Right.
Time was elastic. It wasn't really structured very well. And there was no, how are you even booking these things? I mean, I don't even really know how they were getting shows. I mean, I was the young one.
Right.
I was just ready to go, man. And somehow we did it.
At this point, you've toured virtually, other than like, probably, I'm assuming you've not done the band has a private jet thing, like the Stones or whatever.
No.
Yeah.
No, that's too much money.
That's Well, that's a fool's.
We've been on them when other people with too much money are paying for it.
No, that's a great way to
festivals,
do it.
like we've had to do festivals and you have to, how can you possibly be in Sweden and Finland in the same day?
Right.
Okay, I know what to do. We never paid for it, but no, we've never had a big crossbuster on the wing, on the tail.
Can you imagine? There are probably countries that wouldn't let you land. I don't even know.
There's somehow, they're still using stairs. I'm strolling down the stairs in like a fur vest.
Countries like Ohio.
With round sunglasses on. Sounds great. But no, never happened.
But touring, how many times did your van break down? I just had this conversation with someone the other day where we were talking about, he has a degree in musical theater. And as part of his degree, they had to learn about lighting and set building. And I was like, man, if you go to music school, you should have to learn how to change a tire. You should have to learn how to do a lot of different maintenance things on a van, because that thing's going to break down.
We broke down with some frequency. The Minor Threat van was pretty good. I mean, as they go. It was my car. I had managed to, because my parents weren't talking to each other, and I think we've touched on the fact that I was really, I'm into motors, and they didn't talk to each other. And so when I turned 16, they both gave me a car. They were both cheap. They were both shitty cars, but I had two cars.
You had two cars at 16.
I had two cars.
Was one in Atlanta?
No, my dad drove his old car to DC and gave it to me. And it's cool because it was a 66 Mustang convertible.
Oh, yeah.
But it was like flat tan and rusted, and like it was really fucked up. A responsible kid would have fixed it and made something out of it.
Right.
But I wasn't. And my mom gave me like a 1970 Volvo wagon, the same thing. It was just like, they're both, the point is, who cares? They were cars, and I was 16. Yeah.
I love that everything that you've said about your mom has been absolutely consistent to the picture that I've painted of her in my mind. You're like NPR, Volvo.
Yeah. And now, and just to add to it, picture this, David Bowie haircut.
Yeah. Amazing.
Okay. There you go.
I love your mom.
Yeah, she's cool. So I had these two cars, and we needed a van, so I sold the two cars and bought the van.
You're a fucking king.
From the two cars.
Perfect.
Yeah, so we had the van, was pretty, it was a 72 Dodge Tradesman with probably like 80,000 miles on it. Right. Like, so in van that's great. And it broke down occasionally, but it wasn't catastrophic. When I was in Dag Nasty is when we had the stuff that would break down we went through maybe 5 different things that broke down all the time.
Did did it have the column like 3 on the tree?
The minor threat one did not. It was an automatic.
Oh, good.
Yeah. But also it was my own car too. So it was like, it broke down too when it was not being used as a tour bus. And I was driving it to the school I had to go to after I got thrown out of the good school for being punk. And so when it would die, then it was my only transportation. So then I would be like, well, fuck, I have to get it fixed, and I would take it, or I had friends. I mean, like I was forced to perform maintenance because it was my only way to get anywhere.
Daily driver.
Yeah. And that benefited the band because the van worked.
How much has punk rock taught you about patience and suffering?
Everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything. And things that I look back now and I can't, you're just amazed at what you would go through. Like it was totally cool. Like that's okay. That's what it is. We're just going to do this.
Can you imagine doing any of the shit you did when you were 16 to 18?
Well, no, I'm old and spoiled now.
Right.
I mean, come on. No, I can't. I would like to think that I would if I had to, but no, I wouldn't be looking for it.
Right.
No.
No, I think those adventures.
I had an experience recently, actually. I was doing some Dag Nasty shows a couple years ago, and we had a van and a trailer. And I was driving the van, and we were in Central California, and I took a turn a little tight with the trailer, and I didn't realize it, but I had like popped a tire. And by the time we figured out what was going on, basically the trailer tire that I had was basically what was happening is that there was fire and smoke coming from the axle of the trailer where the tire used to be.
Right.
Like it was bad.
Sparks and whatnot.
We're pulled over on the highway. I'm in my 50s. I'm a grown fancy man.
Yeah.
iPhone, but still we're in the middle of nowhere and we have to walk a couple miles and all the punk rock miracles happen. Oh my God, there's a place here that does tractor trailer repair. And, we can limp the van. So even better, of course, there's a spare tire. Oh God, it's chained. It's chained inside the trailer. Okay, we've got to get the chain off. How do we get the chain off? Well, we'll get bolt cutters. There's the bolt cutters chain part, and then there's the tire, and you get it out, and it's the wrong bolt pattern for the trailer. There's a tire, the spare tire that was chained inside the trailer was actually not for the trailer.
What do you suppose it was for?
I don't know. To say hey, you got a spare tire? We'd rented the thing. The van and the trailer were from some friends of, I had nothing to do with it.
I can see it at the lot. Hey, Jimbo, make sure that's got a spare in there. Okay.
Yeah, there you go. And we did. We had
there was one in there. Yeah.
Anyway, you can see what I'm talking about. Like the amount of just, basically what happened is we got to the show late that we were supposed to play that day. And it took a long time. But
just like the olden days.
Just like the old days, we got that trailer fixed, and we got a guy, and these people were cool, and they can charge us a lot of money. And, there was probably there's probably a Denny's involved.
Right.
It was exactly the same thing. And,
let me ask you this. When you got to the gig late, right?
Yeah.
People are waiting.
Yeah.
What is the demographic? Is it you and me?
Yeah. It's you and me, and there's 35 of us, and it's a sports bar.
And so did like the old days, did they help you load the gear in? Or are they just like, oh no, man, you guys got this?
Maybe so. I don't really recall exactly, I don't know. I was very into moving my own stuff. I mean,
right.
So this is only a couple of years ago. So it's like, I'm just a man. I can get in a van, go play a sports bar.
Well, at this point, I mean, when you're young, you don't mind having other people help you move your stuff, maybe because you haven't succumbed to having some stuff walk away all that often.
Oh, I don't do it because of that. I don't care. No, it's about self-flagellation. It's about proving that I'm not better than you.
Right.
I'm just a man of the people. Here's that dude from Minor Threat moving his amp. That's good.
Sure.
Yeah, because I can't. Also, how can I do that? How can I sit there?
Oh, I don't mean have them move all your stuff.
Yeah, I can't do that. That's fucked up.
I mean, like, the classic show up late to the gig and everyone's moving the stuff in together, kind of an excitement and anticipation for this.
I think if there had been a lot of people there and they had been excited to see Dag Nasty in 2017, it probably would have helped. But it was a bar. Do
you remember what the venue was? Was it?
No, I mean, I could look it up. It was something in, let's call it Bakersfield.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But I don't know if it was. Probably wasn't.
If it was Bakersfield, did you play that place? God, there's a great place there that was a pizza spot, right? And you'd play in the basement.
It wasn't in a basement. And I am useless with information like that, like what venue, what city.
Yeah.
I just don't remember things like that.
You don't spend a lot of time with the tour.
Now, I don't know, because the touring is it's not about it's not about the venues and the cities. It's about the show. I remember playing, but I don't remember where it is, because that's what I'm focused on now. I just want to do the best show possible. And it's almost like my brain just doesn't have enough space to put in, like, remember those Hush Puppies we got over at the Del Amo Lounge when we played there in 1991? No, I don't. Just trying to make sure I'm in tune.
Right. One up on me. I see you got a bicycle back there. You ever bring a bike on tour with you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great, right?
It was such an eye-opening thing. Yeah, having a bike is the best thing ever. And the other guitar player in Bad Religion is a very accomplished road biker and runner and fitness guy. And he turned me on to all that stuff. Like, I had never even thought about riding a road bike until he joined the band. And I just got obsessed with it. And just the freedom, like to be able to go anywhere you want. And especially when we're in Bad Religion, where a lot of our shows are festivals. So you're, okay, now we're out in the middle of, somewhere in Denmark, but I have a bike. So, it's 20 miles to Aarhus. I'm in Aarhus having coffee because I just got on my bike and rode down that perfectly manicured bike path.
Right.
And if I didn't have the bike, I'd be sitting listening to goom, 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 at catering.
Sweaty salami.
Like some guy who used to be in White Zombie.
Right.
I mean, you tell me what's better.
Yeah, I enjoyed to tour with the bike. That's good.
Yeah.
Have you always, so you weren't always a cyclist?
No, I was an alcoholic.
Yeah, well, me too.
Yeah. Well, I guess I still am one, but no, I was much more concerned about my career as a drinker than as a cyclist. And then when I stopped drinking, I had more time for other things. And
it's funny how that works, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And that's, the bike it was part of that. I mean, it was, I think, the first real physical thing I got into once I was able to do things.
You got sober before you
Yeah.
got a bike.
Right.
How much time passed? Probably not much, right? You got
no. Yeah, I don't know. No, I got sober in October of 2012. So I probably got into the bikes that next touring season would have been when I got into it. Like, would we probably like April 2013, like that, because Bad Religion normally is on a winter hiatus because Greg is a professor and he teaches. So just with no real way to tell you, I'm guessing that's when it would have been. Probably.
Right.
Yeah.
How was tour? I mean, do you remember the first show you played when you hadn't had any drinks?
It wasn't that big a deal because as a drunk, I was a professional and I would make sure that I wasn't drunk when I played. It was just the instant that I got off stage.
Right.
It was penance. Like, I was a guy who would force myself to, I just have the hangover all day. I just, alcoholics drink in the daytime. So, but it's 5:00 now.
Right.
So now I don't have to have a hangover anymore.
It's evening. Right.
Yeah, it's the evening. It's fine. In the winter, it's great. It's dark. It's perfect. And that was, I had to regiment my time. And I'm not saying, I would have my first drink would be like going on stage.
Right.
So I was never, and that was never a big part of it for me. I wasn't getting drunk because of that. And playing without it was, not really any different, except for that I can play better.
You were acutely aware enough to not let it get in the way of your professional.
Well, I have a pretty good gig.
Yeah. No, yeah, for sure.
I like it. And I don't want to get a job. And so if I can't,
let me tell you, jobs suck, man.
If you can't have his booze until like 10, fine.
You'll just have all of it at 10.
Then I'll have all of it with all my other friends who are just like me.
Right.
We're rock and roll, and we do it all. Just whatever. It was a great ride, and then it wasn't.
It's remarkable how many people that I speak to on this podcast that don't drink anymore because they already got their fill.
Yeah. I'm very lucky, and also I kind of had aged out, and I wasn't thirsty when I got sober. I didn't have a big bottom. I just was unable to manage my life.
Right.
And that was it.
I haven't felt like having a drink in a very long time.
Me either.
Which is, I never thought that would really be, never thought that would be a thing, that I would never feel like drinking.
I'm more amazed that I don't smoke anymore.
Oh, yeah, that's a tough one.
It was great when I went to rehab. They're like, okay, so you're not, also you can't smoke. I'm like, I'm sorry, that's wrong. I'm supposed to smoke and drink bad coffee out of a styrofoam cup.
Right, I've seen it in the movies.
A circle of guys who look like, Emmett Kelly. No, that's not how it is. You're not going to smoke either. fortunately, and I was like, I was okay. Well, I will choose to stay here in rehab and not smoke. Good decision.
And did you quit both at the same time?
Yep.
Wow, good for you, man.
Yeah. Well, it was really no choice. I mean, I was fucked up. I was bad, and I needed help. And if that's what it took, if you got to go get the trailer welded in order to make it to Bakersfield, you get the trailer welded.
Right.
Smoking to stay here, stay here. It was good. I didn't
go to rehab, although I've been quitting drinking since high school. I mean, the first time I quit drinking, I was in high school, which, yeah.
Was it because you were really into Youth of Today? There straight edge reasons?
There were no, I never went straight edge. No. I grew up in a house where there was a house of substance, and I'm not talking about the book collection,
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, never imagined that it wouldn't be an important part of my day every day.
Are you, do you go to meetings? Are you a sober person, or you just don't drink?
I just don't drink. The truth is I still have some alcoholic behaviors. I still have some shit I got to work out. I probably should go to meetings.
Yeah, meetings are good. I've never left one and felt worse than before I went in.
Right.
But it's, I think the main thing for me too is that moral superiority, and like, I just can't be drinking. Like, I've gone to all this trouble to be, to stay sober and to be the guy who can drive you home and to
make good decisions,
to do all of this stuff. And I just can't lose that high ground. It's just not good for the brand, man. You can't. And vanity too. I weighed like 220 pounds when I got sober.
Is that right?
Yeah. And it's like, when I think about that, it's like, I can't do that. I mean, it's hard enough being an old punk rock guy. How about going to see a band with an old fat punk rock guy who can't move, who's wasted?
Oh yeah.
Ew.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, when I see that in real life, when I'm playing in festivals and I see other dudes, I'm like, dude,
sure.
No way. You gotta keep it together.
Yeah,
for sure. How I'm still trying to be the best guitar player I can be, and that's not going to help at all. Drinking will not help me achieve that.
Right.
At all.
Yeah. No. No, it will not. And I definitely did some heavy work and played shows under the influence, which was a bad idea. Like I've fallen down on stage, not because I slipped. So that's, luckily that was before everyone had a cell phone, and a camera on it.
Yeah.
Because, I never want to have to see that. I remember it happening, kinda, but I just never want to see it. And I think when I see people in that state, it's hard because they don't want to hear anything from you. They don't want to hear from a guy that's not drinking. They don't want to hear like, hey man, if you ever want to talk, if you ever want to hang out, they're like, fuck you, man. I'm out here doing it rock and roll.
No, everyone, they'll do it when they're ready, or they won't. You can't be. It's so personal, and yeah. I enjoy being helpful when help is needed, but I can't go out there and preach the gospel.
Right.
Doesn't work.
Right. Well, good for you. Good for you. I mean,
just one of the things,
One of the things, yeah. When You joined Bad Religion in 94?
94, yeah.
I think I saw that tour.
Stranger Than Fiction.
Was it, did you guys tour?
They play the Moore Theater in Seattle.
With the Super Suckers opening?
Yes, correct.
I was there. Me and my buddy Dwayne Sorensen were there.
That is fantastic. I love the Super Suckers. I love them. That's where I met them.
Is that right?
Yeah, I loved them. They were just so up my alley.
They're killer. We lost Ron last year.
Yeah, I know. It's terrible.
He was sweet, man.
Was a great dude.
Great guitar player.
Yep.
Great dresser. Great mustache.
He's everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I got the real. I mean, I like, I'm a huge Eddie Spaghetti fan, and I like all variations of the Super Suckers. But when you had that Dancing Eagle, Dan Bolton, Ron, Eddie, it was just a great period, and a lot of those records, I think, just because they were so important to me at the time, they're the ones I go to when I listen to them now.
Right.
When I listen, when I go back and look for something.
What is the most contemporary music that you're excited about? Are you into any new music?
Well, you know what? I realized that this was better when I said it, and it was true in 2017 that I had discovered Sleaford Mods. But everyone knows who Sleaford Mods is now, I think.
I don't know what that is.
Oh God! Well, here, check out this band, Sleaford Mods. They're
I don't even know how to spell that.
SLEAFORD.
All right.
Second word, mods, is in we're the mods.
Right. Scooters and
Talk about today. The Jam.
Yeah.
But they're not like the Jam. They're more like the Exploited. It's two dudes.
Oh.
They're amazing. Just when we hang up, just go Google. Look for a band. Look for a record called Key Markets.
Okay.
Key Markets. That's a good introduction to Sleaford Mods. But
Key Markets.
That's the most recent discovery I've had of something new, and that was 4 years ago. And
you think it's ironic that the newest music that you're into is sort of like it hints at older music style. It's not like some sort of a new thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I'm like most of the people in my age group. It's like you listen to the stuff you liked when you were little, and when you're buying records, you're replacing ones. You're buying copies of things that you had before.
Right.
I love hearing. I'm very curious, and I love hearing new stuff. And I really actively try, but it doesn't stick the same way. And I think also it's the way that music's being delivered. Like my newest way to discover stuff is I follow a lot of writers on Twitter. I'm a big Twitter guy, but not really a poster. It's more of a news source for me. And I follow a lot of people who are in their 20s and 30s who are freelance and write for interesting publications. And it's usually political, but sometimes it's even like cars, like people who write for Jalopnik, which is a great website for car people. And so they'll mention like, oh, they'll have a playlist, a Spotify playlist that they'll refer to. And so I'm following, someone in their mid-20s who's like, oh, well, I made this playlist for this road trip. And I go and I get it. And I listen to the playlist. And I've never heard of any of the people. And I just let it go when I'm driving around. And then eventually through osmosis, the ones that I really like stick a little bit. But I haven't gone and picked them out. Like I haven't done the actual hard work to find it. Like, okay, you know what? I'm really into Hockey Dad. And I'm going to buy all the Hockey Dad music. Like, right. I just know Hockey Dad is one of the bands that I like on this lady's Spotify playlist who writes for a car magazine.
Has anyone had a playlist that had one of your bands on it where you're like, hey, look at that?
Definitely. which is cool. Very cool. I remember actually being kind of shocked by that. It was someone who I didn't like the cut of their jib and was trying to be all, I know everything about music. And I'm like, okay, let me see your playlist, you loser.
That's so nautical of you.
It had like Fear, Dag Nasty. I mean, with other stuff that's bad. It had bad things too. But I was like, oh, fuck. I can't even get this one.
Did you say that there was a someone from Refused that you have a
Dennis
fake names?
Yeah, Dennis sings for fake names.
I was just thinking the other day because I was like, I don't do a bunch of research because I want to have an organic conversation like this. I want to learn about you in an organic way. I don't want to read a bunch of bullshit. And I was thinking to myself how, hardcore didn't impact me while it was happening. It was something I discovered later because I was isolated and living in, rurally far away from anything cool. Yeah. Occasionally you heard about some shit, from a skater that had Thrasher or whatever. So, but I was thinking to myself, all the things that wouldn't stand really a chance of existing without these bands that you've been in, and Refused is a band that came to mind. I was like, God, I just think like, even if it's not absolutely direct, I remember the first time I heard Refused was a very exciting, that, the Shape of Punk to Come is a very exciting record, which I think still holds up. Like,
yeah, I agree. It's a great record.
I don't know if there's been a punk record that has broke ground in the way that record broke ground since then. But also, I don't really have my ear to the ground.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure things happen. We just don't know about them. Or we're supposed to think that...
Oh, I doubt it. We're both very smart.
Oh, no. You're right. Yes, we do know everything. But I don't know. There's people who think Machine Gun Kelly is punk. Maybe that's...
I don't know what that... I know that he played Tommy Lee in a Motley Crue movie.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of, the things are so different now. I don't know. It's best to just not... Just don't get involved.
Right. You ever think about getting a teardrop tattoo or a face tattoo?
No, I haven't. But it's just not I don't really want any face tattoos.
Yeah.
Actually, sometimes they work on people. I have friends who have them that work.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't work.
Yeah.
I'm not willing to take that risk. Also, I'm fucking old. Like, I'm too old for that shit.
It doesn't. I just look like a boy no matter what. Like, I'm trying to grow this mustache back. I'm going to have this salt and pepper mustache. I still look like a boy.
If you just want to write a Latin word over one of your eyebrows, you're going to get right in there.
Yeah, man.
Unreadable Latin.
Yeah. How do you say hot dog in Latin?
Howis temporium rex. That's how you say it.
So at 15, you have no idea what's in store for you, but did you know that did you have any idea what your 50s were going to look like? You probably, I never thought I'd live this long, but
I thought I'd have center parted hair and a mustache.
Yeah, like me.
I thought I would look like Dr. Johnny Fever. That's all I thought when I'm like in my 50s. I will look like Dr. Johnny Fever.
Right.
And at 15, I had no idea. The whole Minor Threat thing is just a complete accident. Right place, right time. And I wasn't trying to be a musician, and I didn't think I would be a musician when I was 15. I didn't think I'd be one when I was 16. I didn't even think it was possible that I wouldn't go to college. Like, okay, well, I'm in high school, and then I'm going to go to college. I eventually went to college for a minute because I was threatened.
Right.
It didn't stick. But no, I had no idea. I didn't know that I was a professional musician
Until the first time you got paid 8 years ago.
till, yeah, like, I don't think I knew I was a professional musician until I was in Bad Religion. Still, and I had been like, that had been my, the only jobs I had were ones to sustain me when I wasn't able to go play.
Right.
It was just all about that. It's about the rent.
Sure.
And so that's what you did. But I never had a career, and I never thought of music as a career. I was just having a really good time and doing what I liked best, which unfortunately wasn't, sustainable, but I would do the odd jobs that you do to make it sustainable.
Leading up to joining Bad Religion, did you foresee, what's the vibe? You're like, well, I have a job and I'm...
The vibe is kind of weird because I had been in Junkyard, which was like kind of this Southern rock Motorhead band.
Yeah.
Was awesome that I was in that band and we were on Geffen. And so interestingly enough, when I'm in Junkyard and I'm making like $1,000 a month and I'm on MTV and I don't think I'm a professional musician yet. Doesn't even that, I remember at that time never thinking that.
Well, you can't afford cable yet. You're like, well, I can get cable when I'm a pro, right?
Hey, I was in Hollywood. We took cable from where we could find it. But I was in that band, and that ran from 88 to about beginning of 92. And then we got dropped, and the band decided we weren't going to try to keep going. That it just wasn't, the people in the band were tired of each other, and there's some drugs and stuff. And we're just like, we're not going to do it. So I decided I'm going to start my own band that sounds like music I like at the time. And that is like Goo Goo Dolls. Like I was really into Hold Me Up and then Superstar Car Wash. And I really liked Sugar and I liked, Bob Mould. And so I formed a band that I was like, okay, I'm going to be in Replacements. I'm going to form this band that I want to do. And I got some friends together and we formed this band and we were good, but we weren't really good enough. But we were good enough to play the Lingerie in LA. We could play, we could get 100 people to come see us. And people would come down and we'd play showcases. We got a publishing deal, but we never got a record deal. But we just didn't, the reason in retrospect is we just weren't good enough. At the time, it was, forces against us.
Of course.
Fucking Kurt Cobain, whatever it was. So I
killed good music.
So I decide I'm working at a rehearsal studio at that time. For money to live. And I decide, you know what? I've been in a band constantly without a break since Minor Threat. I'm going to stop playing in a band, period. I'm going to take off. I'm done. I'm going to take a break from music. I'm going to see what it's like to not be in a band. And my idea was I was going to take maybe a year off. And
how old are you at this point?
I am 28. I'm 28. And so I go, that's what I'm going to do. And so I'm working at the rehearsal studio and I'm trying to I'm doing other odd jobs. And probably about 6 weeks into this hiatus from music, Tommy Stinson starts rehearsing with Bash and Pop at the rehearsal studio and needs a guitar player. So I joined Tommy Stinson's band to hang out with Tommy Stinson. So I joined
Bash and Pop?
Yes.
Oh, dude.
I broke my fast and I was in Bash and Pop. You know who else was in Bash and Pop at that time? Randy, the bass player from Pennywise.
Jesus Christ.
Right. So I joined this band because it's Tommy. And I had only met Tommy because he was rehearsing there. I'm like, oh my, I was a huge Replacements fan and also just a huge Tommy fan. And he was everything. Come on. He looked great. He was cool. He was a real rock star.
Really cool guy. Also a sweet guy.
Just awesome, dude. Great guy.
He lives here in Hudson.
Yeah. It's funny. I was actually thinking of, I have this project I'm thinking of doing with some other musicians. I was thinking about calling Tommy about it. If there's any, someone's putting together some kind of, internet thing, maybe a drummer from Superchunk. I was thinking Tommy might be a good one.
I might just give him a call.
I was thinking about that. But anyway, I digress. I decided to be, I joined Bash and Pop. And so now I'm still working at the rehearsal studio. I'm in Bash and Pop. And then while I play with Tommy, I don't know how long, but let's just say it's 6 months.
Yeah.
And that's when I get the audition for REM to be a side guy for REM. They needed a touring, extra dude, like if Mills is going to play acoustic guitar, someone has to play the bass. Or if Pete's going to play mandolin, someone should play guitar. That kind of thing. And I got that just because I was kind of, I will have to say my pedigree got me that opportunity to try out for them. Just because I know people and and I got the gig.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
How many tours did you do with REM?
None. And here's why. I got the gig and I was, okay, let's say I got the gig in, let's just say July or whenever it was. Okay. In August, we're going to go down to Athens and start touring for preparing for the Monster Tour. We're going to start rehearsals. And in that lag time, I get the call about Bad Religion.
Man, I need to quit music.
That's what did it. I quit, and look what happened. Fucking Tommy Stinson, fucking Peter Buck.
Right.
And now I've got fucking Greg Graffin, all in the same power-packed, period of a couple of months. And I decide to go with Bad Religion. I get the guy who was the singer in my Goo Goo Dolls Bob Mould tribute band. I got him the gig in REM.
Oh,
so
really?
He went on tour. Yeah. Still one of my best friends. Still love the dude. He went on tour with them. So I was like, to REM, I'm like, guys, I'm really grateful. I have a guy that you could try out and maybe he'll work out for you, but I'm going to go with this Bad Religion because it was to be in the band.
Right.
It was, not to be a side guy. And they were totally cool because they're awesome people. And it turns out the guy I gave them, they liked him. So they took him. And then I've got Bad Religion. And then I had to, and I had to stop playing with Tommy to be in Bad Religion.
What a magic period of time. So emotionally, you feel pretty good right now. You're like, holy shit, the world just kicked the door down for me.
And this time I know it because I'm older and I've been working all this time. It wasn't like Minor Threat where you just didn't care or know or whatever.
Right.
This was like, wow, look at this. I better not fuck this up. And I really, that's when I was like, what, this is what I do for a living and I should be really good at it. And I should really do what I can to make this continue to happen. And I've been in Bad Religion for 26 years. So the moral of the story is to do that.
The moral of the story is pay your dues, quit. And then
but still be cool about it.
Make sure a lot of people have your phone number.
Work in a rehearsal studio where
that's a good.
It was great.
Yeah. That's a good strategy.
The drummer in my Bob Mould tribute band,
I love that
the Goo Goo Dolls.
Is that right?
Yes, Mike Millenin joined the Goo Goo Dolls and was in the Goo Goo Dolls forever. And the guy who sang for my Goo Goo Dolls Bob Mould tribute band, who went to REM after the REM gig, got a job in the Goo Goo Dolls playing second guitar. Look at that.
That's amazing.
It's so great. I mean, they're not playing with them now, but but that was what a great fucking run.
I think I've met that Mike guy and hung out with him.
Really nice guy, Mike Millenin. He's from Texas.
2003.
Yeah,
Did he live right in Hollywood?
I bet he did. I didn't have much contact with him,
Yeah.
but I know he was in the band for a really long time. But he's from, I think, Tyler, Texas. And I know he moved back to Texas, and he's only been out of the band for a couple of years. I think he had some kids and just kind of,
Yeah.
how it goes. You don't want to.
There's one thing that I was dying to ask you, and that
But
is,
I forgot it.
sorry, I died. And that is the name and the band's very iconic emblem.
Yes.
Can be polarizing out here in America. Have you ever had any run-ins with the Westboro Baptist Church?
It's surprising how little attention we've gotten with this Ghostbusters slash through a cross.
Really?
From a lot, we really just haven't gotten a lot of harassment. I mean,
the Ghostbusters slash.
Yeah, I mean, realize that this is a band name, which, by the way, is not really a very good band name. And it was 15-year-old kids who were thought Jerry Falwell was a scam.
Well,
and that was why it was called, no one's thinking about long term.
Right.
No one's thinking about playing Hellfest in France, and I'm on stage at midnight with a 30-foot crossbuster behind me, playing to 20,000 people with this just fuck God thing behind me, because you don't think of it that way. I mean, but that's what it looks like.
Right.
But to me, it's that's the band logo from this punk band that started in the Valley in California. And this music isn't really, I mean, it's really more humanist. It's not, we're just not aggressively anti-religion.
Right. Not Satanists.
No.
How disappointing. Do you think that you would be happy to get a chance to tangle with? I really despise the Westboro Baptist Church.
Sure. Yeah, of course, I would love to have any discourse. But now that stuff is just so small potatoes compared to this lunacy we're dealing with now.
They must be so bummed.
I know. They're they don't matter at all. Oh, it's the Westboro Baptist Church.
Right.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. I wonder how where they're at with masks. I wonder if they're anti-maskers or what's their deal.
Well, everybody stupid is anti-mask because there's 100,000 reasons. They don't work, or they're part of the pandemic, or microchips, or you're a sheep, or there's just stupid people don't wear masks. People who aren't stupid wear them because we're in a fucking pandemic.
You know what?
That's why you wear them.
Anyone that's ever been on a tour knows that the powers that be they don't have their shit together enough to plan they don't have their shit together for a pandemic. They don't have their shit together to make interstate changes make sense. How the fuck are they going to plan a pandemic, man? Yeah.
The powers that be decided that Donald Trump should be president.
Right.
Okay, there you go. There's quality control issues. Okay, don't worry about the microchip. We're just trying to get it together. We're just trying to get these gun nuts out of the fucking house right now. We don't need to be there. We shouldn't be there at all. That's our main focus. We have had protests at shows, but not organized. There's always there are people, not always, but frequently in parts of the United States where you'll find people who want to tell us about, have you heard the good word? Right. Little John 3:16 going on, but not aggressively. The only thing is that I really regret is I've never played Belfast. And I think that logo got us, we have never been able to play. We have I don't know if that's the case now, but definitely in the 90s, we couldn't get a show.
You guys were actually banned?
Well, no, it was just, do you really want to go up there with that?
Well,
Who wants to do that? And even to a certain degree, just in recent history, it's like we are totally, this is our logo, but we don't play in front of a 30-foot crossbuster banner anymore.
Right.
It just seems like you're being an asshole.
Right.
It's like, I don't need to prove that I'm an atheist anymore.
Right.
And, it's still part of, we still sell stuff on it. It's our classic t-shirt is never going to change. But it's just a certain, there's a tone. You take the temperature of the room, and there's a lot of crazy people now. And it's, it's not about poking the bear. It's trying to share some information is much more important than that now.
Right. I guess that's a state of mind that can only come to as far as I know, I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. But I think that is a kind of wisdom and a state of mind that only years can give you, right?
100%. Yeah.
You don't have to be antagonistic or stoke a fire or be divisive and sift things out.
You should be thoughtful and curious and persuasive and interested in things, but you don't need to be aggressive about it. I don't think that that's as good a way to make it work. And I've never responded to that personally, just as a person.
Right.
Having shit shoved down my throat didn't, that's maybe the punk I am.
Right.
But it's the long haul stuff that stuck.
What does being a punk mean to you now that it didn't mean to you when you transformed at 15? When I went punk,
it was when I went punk, I was trying to join a club, and I was amazed by this music that came out of nowhere. This crazy, these sounds and this energy. And I wasn't even really a lyric person. I still am not that much of a lyric person. I'm a riff. I'm a guitar, drum beat person. And it was really to be like, I'm identifying with this. These are my people. This is my tribe. I don't care who knows it,
Yeah.
With me now, I mean, I'm a punk. I'm going to be 56. To me, it's about just the whole package of how I go about my life and what I'm curious about, and the type of art that I like, and the type of energy that I'm attracted to, the things that make me want to look into something more. It's weird. Punk is such a, it's been around for so long now, and it means so many different things. I think it's just, if they hadn't ruined the word alternative is a good way to describe it, and that you're looking for, other ways around the maze a little bit. And there's also a certain lifestyle thing that's implied, I think, in punk about taking care of your own and being a good person. And, I don't know, it's like, it's a cliquishness, but it's not about exclusion or being better than anybody. It's about like identifying other people who are like you and reveling in that and wanting to be supportive. And like, it's why I still go to basement shows. I love it. I love going to see punk music.
What's the worst perversion? What is the worst perversion of punk that you've experienced? Because people throw around like, how punk is that? And it's like,
yeah, I don't know. I think
I don't know.
You know what? The only thing that makes me mad is being on guitar forums and people there talking shit about punk rock guitar playing and thinking.
I love that you go on guitar forums.
Yeah, and there's just fuckers in there talking about like, oh, we'll just put a fucking axe through the speaker, and those people don't know shit. It's like, you know what? You fucking you have no concept of what we're talking about here. No, of course I'm on guitar forums. I love guitar. I'm obsessed.
Right.
It's what I do with most of my time.
We haven't even talked about guitars.
I know, that's crazy. We've been doing this for like at least 5 hours.
Do you have a favorite guitar that you in your collection?
Right now, my favorite guitar is a 2008 non-reverse P90 Firebird custom shop. I love it. It's cool as hell. It's also the most recent guitar I bought.
Here's a good story for you to why one of the many reasons I had to get sober. I had a 64 Firebird 3. It was a non-reverse 3 P90s with the little dip switches on it. And I dropped it drunk on stage, dropped it.
Yeah.
And somehow, the headstock did not break. And even in my drunken state, I was like, all right, well, I don't deserve this guitar. And the next day I got rid of it.
Wow. Well, you probably deserved the guitar.
Well, and I just,
it's not like it was a Firebird 5 or 7.
Right.
63. You're talking about 64.
Yeah.
Firebird 3. I mean,
who cares about this old thing?
I mean, it's still a nice guitar, but
a non-reverse Firebird is such a niche guitar.
I know. I never had one. And for me, when I think of that, I think of there's a picture of Mike Ness playing one, an early Social Distortion picture.
Really?
A cover picture of him playing a non-reverse, but with mini buckers. That's cool as hell. And Captain Sensible from The Damned. Big non-reverse guy. And he's my favorite punk guitar player. And I've just never had one. And I just started to get, I'm home a lot. And I'm scrolling through stuff on Reverb because I don't have a job right now.
Right.
And I really like guitars. And I'm sad sometimes. And I'll once every couple of months, maybe I'll buy myself a guitar.
Right.
And that's an exciting week because it's the search. I'm going to get one. Finding it. Sometimes it takes 2 months to find it. And then there's the whole negotiation, and then it's coming. And then it comes, and then you get to deal with it, and you play it, and then you take it apart, put it back together, and you fix it. And it, you do all, I'm very into the guitar setup and all of that stuff. I'm pretty into that. Like,
do you do that yourself?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Good.
Yeah. So it's an exciting way to burn some time.
Right.
And beats drinking.
Sure. Yeah. It feels a lot better in the morning.
Yeah.
So you're a gear geek.
Total. 100%.
Do you change your rig up often?
No.
Like, are you changing your amps up?
No, I'm done with that. I don't do that. I have well, it's funny. To play, my job is to be in Bad Religion. And for that, I play the same stuff. I've been on different guitar trips, but I'm always just, a JCM 800 or JMP, or I have some modded plexis, like a Billy Joe Armstrong mod. Actually, I have one of his actual heads. It sounds great. And through 412s and no pedals. Or I have a Kemper or two Kempers. I have two Kempers actually that are both loaded with the same Marshall head. The Marshall head lives here in New Jersey, and it's right there. And it is a JCM 800 I bought new in Junkyard in 1989.
Is it the 2-input then?
It's the 2-input.
2-channel?
No.
Single channel, 50 watt?
100 watt.
100 watt.
Right. That is the only thing I ever profiled in my Kemper profiler. And I did that so I could take that's my best Marshall head of all the ones I have. And it was I was going to play shows in South America in countries I'd never been to, like Colombia and Peru. And I'm like, and I've done this my whole life, and I know what rental gear is. And you get great stuff sometimes, or sometimes everyone tries really hard. It's not like you show up and it's a Fender Twin with one speaker in it.
Right.
But wouldn't it be great to just put it in this Kemper and take it with me? And my friend Chris from Less Than Jake was the first guy I met who was using Kempers. And he's like, you got to get this. I was like, do you know a guy? He's like, I know a guy. So I was like, okay, I'll call the guy and see if I can get a Kemper.
Do you have the powered Kemper, or
Yes.
You do? So you're pushing air on stage.
Oh, 100%. So I'm running, I have two Kempers, both with just that amp in it, and two 412s, and they're both really loud, and they're mic'd sometimes not. They go through the front of house, either direct or mic'd.
Right.
Go in my ears, and I have them EQ'd differently. Same head, same virtual head,
right.
EQ'd differently, and it sounds huge, and it sounds the same every single night.
And you guys are on ears now.
I'm on ears, singer's on ears, Jamie, drummer's on ears, other guys aren't.
Yeah.
Other guys aren't. I've been on ears forever.
Have you sustained any hearing damage?
Yeah, tons. I'm deaf. I have a really bad tinnitus. My left side is worse than my right. It's
fucking cymbals.
It's just cymbals. It's Brooks Wackerman. I'm deaf because of Brooks Wackerman. One of the best drummers ever, but boy, I was parked right next to him.
Right.
And he's a cymbalist, he'll tell you. He's not just a drummer, he's a cymbalist.
Right.
So I guess there are worse ways to go deaf than playing with Brooks Wackerman.
I would say so.
Yeah, that's a pretty good sacrifice for sure. But that's it. Yeah, my hearing is terrible. Even the damage was sustained before I got on ears. I mean, I didn't get on ears because my ears were bad. It started, the ringing and the bad happened after I'd been on ears for a couple of years. Like, I'm doing everything right. What's wrong with you, God? Oh, I don't believe in you. That's why.
Right.
Maybe that's it. No, that can't be it. There's no God. The cymbals.
I have constant ringing in my ears.
But guitar-wise, I fell in love with P90s, and I've been playing P90 stuff with Bad Religion since about 2014. And this last year, I bought an R9 just because there was a really nice one on tour, and I bought it. It's humbuckers, and I was like, whoa, humbuckers are like a Cadillac. They're so easy.
Right.
Like, P90s sound better, 100%.
I think they are so nasty and beautiful.
They're the best pickup ever, and I record the records with them, and I play them on stage too. But I've got this Les Paul, this R9, and I'm like, oh wait, this is too easy. It's so smooth, and we'll say this: it's easier to solo with a humbucker.
Right.
But a P90 is 100 times better for chords. And because I got this one, then I'm like, well, if I'm going to play this sometimes, then I have to get a backup.
You poor thing.
And so I got a gold top with the same neck profile.
Right.
And so now I'm taking out both the humbuckers and the P90s and just kind of playing them, when the mood strikes me. But the P90s sound better. I'm playing old juniors, real ones.
Oh, yeah.
So there's they move around a little more than the humbucker guitars.
Right.
They're great. But I love everything. I'm going to play this Firebird too. And then I'll probably have to get it back up.
Careful with that thing, man. Those things, one dipsy doodle.
I'm pretty lucky. I haven't broken a lot of headstocks. I've broken one headstock and one neck joint in my entire career. And the headstock was a Les Paul, and I just was putting it on a stand, and it just fell off the stand onto its face. And I broke it. This was at sound check, and the guitar tech I had at the time took it fixed it, and I played it at the show.
Really?
Yeah.
That night?
Yeah. He just fixed it. He was like, okay, it's not pretty, but he's like, yeah, okay, whatever. He just got a clamp and some kind of magic epoxy or whatever guitar techs carry in those big chests that they have. He was a professional guitar tech. And I played it that night.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And I broke a neck joint drunk in Junkyard on an SG. I was wearing like, Beetle boots, and I was sliding across a beer-soaked stage, and I just wiped out. Just complete wipeout. And I didn't know that was the guitar was broken either. I just kept playing it. It was a lot of blur there.
Sure.
Yeah. Those are the only two out of all these years. I'm not really a big breaker of guitars. I don't throw them. I try to be nice.
Right.
It's a privilege to have good guitars.
Indeed. It's a privilege to have nice things. I grew up not without nice things, and so I sort of made it a point as I got older and as I was able to always like make sure I had a nice shit. Like, I went to the food bank as a kid. So the one thing I forget, it's easy. The one thing that is easy for me to forget, is that it is a privilege. It's not like, sure, I worked hard and I did this and that, but it is a privilege.
Yeah.
Not everyone just gets to do that. And
it's coincidentally, I think the guitars are beautiful, and I love them. I love looking at them. I like all different kinds. I have a lot of them, and I love like switching them out, going to the locker and being like, oh my God, I'm doing this now. I'm going to do this. I'm going to play all these, I have a lot of shit, and I love it. I'm very lucky.
Since you're a P90 fan, I'm going to show this off.
I was looking at that because
guitar, which I co-designed with my buddy Keith Horn. It's got this sparkly black finish, a single dog ear P90 for those who are listening and not watching.
It's got a little like, it's 1958-59 coronet, but also a little bit of Mosrite.
That's exactly the vibe we're going for. It's all mahogany.
Look at you.
It's thin.
Sorry, Taylor.
It's thin like an SG, and it weighs nothing, and it sounds glorious. And actually, a guy I went to high school with wound that pickup. I
would like one of those.
I know a guy.
I would love one of those.
I know a guy. Yeah. So we designed that thing. He's making 5 of them, and they're going only to independent
people who invented hardcore music in America.
They're going only to independent guitar stores. There's like the Guitar Shop in New York and River City Music, and I think Walt Grace Vintage.
Oh.
But it's Marvin guitars. You know AC Slade, who's
yes, I do.
AC, he has a couple Marvins.
Yeah, I've heard of Marvin.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Good dude.
Cool.
I'll put you in touch.
Yeah. I should text AC Slade, actually. I haven't talked to him in a long time.
Nice guy.
He's a coffee company, I think. That's how he's a coffee guy too.
Yeah.
Good gig he got.
That's how I met him. Yeah, that's a fun gig.
I love that gig.
Right?
I wish I had that gig. I heard some bullshit, something about Jared. Jerry was like, well, we were going to ask you, but we thought you would be busy. I don't know. But Jared didn't say that to me. He didn't say that to me personally, but somebody said that, and I was like, God, if that was only true. What a great fucking job that would be. And you don't have to work very much.
Right.
Like 10 shows or something, you know.
No, I can't think of a person that would say no to that gig.
Oh, who would?
Anyone would.
Yeah.
Ingve would say yes to that gig.
I was in Samhain for a minute. I know.
It's fucking insane.
Yeah, that's true. I keep forgetting about that one too. Yeah, that's fun.
How often do you look back at all of the gigs you've had? This is the first is it public knowledge that you had the REM gig and turned it down or walked away from it?
Yeah.
Is that
yeah, that's well known. That's probably
the last one to the party. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's almost, I'm sure it's like probably Wikipedia or something at this point.
It's come all the way back around. It's new news.
Yeah. It's just, I think turn down is even wrong too, because it was like, you don't turn down something like that. What's a more respectful way? Like, do you back away slowly with your walking backwards with your hands down, or I don't know.
I saw those guys a lot, Peter especially,
Yeah.
And do you know Ken Stringfellow?
No.
He had that position for a while. Yeah. He was in the Posies, or is in the Posies. He's one of the two guys, and was in fucking Big Star.
Yeah. How about that?
That's a gig, right?
That's one.
I gotta quit.
That's the answer. Quit. Stop trying.
This has been this has been incredibly educational. Just even just that one section, like, wait a minute, I just have to fucking quit? And the calls will line up?
That's it. That's what happens. Just give it a shot.
Let me ask you this.
Uh-huh.
You said in 2 weeks you're going to turn 56.
Yep.
Where do you see yourself as a punk in 20 more years?
I think the same thing. I mean, it's weird because the whole like longevity of playing live music, this whole hope you die before you don't get older,
Right.
Well, there was really no test case, so no one knew what you could do.
Right.
And I'm like, well, if Judas Priest is still playing, people are showing up, I'm going to play.
And Rob's still singing his ass off.
Yeah. It's a lot of it to do with this. It's like, here's a way to have a long career. Write good songs that are still good 40 years later, which is just, who knows how. I mean, I didn't do anything. I just sucked onto the right coattails, but that's helpful. But also, is the singer still good? And I'm in a band with a great singer who is better now than he was when he was a kid. So we're going to keep doing this until it's not good anymore.
Right.
That's all. I mean, I love this. And I have no problem being 76 and playing Fuck Armageddon, This Is Hell. I think it's a privilege. I'm lucky if that happens.
Right.
I would love to do
it. What's the most inspiring punk rock moment that you can recall? Like something that you've witnessed?
That's a hard one. I don't know. There have been so many little ones that have turned into this whole thing.
Right.
Unfortunately, I can't really give you a specific thing.
No, that's all right.
I mean, I got tons of stories, but as far as like a real, number one inspirational moment, I don't really know. I would say that the most inspiring punk rock moment I ever had was the first time I went and saw a real punk show. It was the first show. That was what it was. The Cramps and Teen Idols in Washington, D.C. in, I think, September of 1980. Right. That's still the most inspiring moment. I can feel it right now. I feel that show.
Right.
It was the Cramps.
And that kind of excitement, when it hits you, it never leaves you, right?
No. And it's just this incalculable energy and spirit and the whole thing. I'm actually reliving it also because I'm really hungry and I have dry mouth because I drank all my water. I had too much coffee because,
yeah, I'm going to let you go soon.
Yeah. Those are helping me relive the experience.
Right.
But I feel it just like I did then. It's just crazy.
It's I think you have a really inspiring story. And yeah.
What accidents can happen and quit.
Well, I just I just think even though you didn't have a plan, you're just doing what you love to do.
Yep.
You never had a backup plan, right? I mean, nope. You went to school for a minute, and what did you do there? You just took like basics?
My parents said I had been out of school for a year, and my parents said, look, if you don't go to college, we're never going to pay for it. And this was in 1984. And I believed that I needed to go to college, and I believed that they weren't joking. And I was like, fuck, I guess I have to go. And they said, but you have to be in college like now, like in September. And it was probably July. And I was like, well, you do know that there's a process here. But I just decided, okay, well, I'll just apply to the school that's closest to me. And it was George Washington University in DC. And they took me. I think I actually gave them a minor threat single at my application. I really do. I think that I got in like one of those weird ways, oh, he's different. And I went there, and my idea was I wanted to be a lawyer, but I don't know why or what kind of lawyer. I was just thinking like, I'd like to be, I don't want to be a doctor because that's messy, and I'm supposed to be successful, and I'm going to college, and I like lawyers on TV, and I think I'll be a lawyer. And also because to do that, you didn't have to take anything. You're just supposed to take a bunch of classes. You didn't have to get serious about shit for a couple of years. And that was attractive to me too. Like, yeah, I'm pre-law. What does that mean? I don't know.
It means before law.
I'm taking French. And so I went there. I believe I went for 2 years or 1.5 years. I'm not sure. I think it was 1.5 years.
You're like, this is not the life for me.
No, this is what happened. It's funny, but true. Is that, so my dad's paying for this, and the way he's paying for it is like, you're going to go register for a semester. And so he just gives me a check, and then I'm supposed to give it to them. And that semester, I bought a van and made T-shirts for my band, Dag Nasty.
Attaboy.
And I didn't tell my dad that I did that. I told him, so that was the second semester of my second year. So when the third year came up, I said, I'm not going to college anymore. And he accepted that. But I didn't tell him that I'd stolen his money until much later, when it was okay, after I'd been on the television.
Right.
And I told him.
I promise this is the last question. I promise. I see.
I'm enjoying this, mind you.
Oh, good. Well, I just keep thinking that you have to go to the bathroom.
I don't have to go to the bathroom. I'm starving.
Oh, you need some trail mix.
I got all the stuff up there, but I'm not going to duck out on this. No, this is a good time.
As I said before, punk rock was a thing that was a scary thing to a suburban, like not even a suburban kid. Who am I kidding? I didn't grow up in the suburbs. I grew up rurally, And so, you know, it had this, there were a lot of other things that were attached to it that were scary to a kid like me. Yeah. But when I discovered it, you know, Minor Threat is one of the bands that stuck, but also Bad Brains really, I mean, even just saying the name Bad Brains, the hair on my arms usually stands up. And, you know, I didn't get to see them until they did one of their reunion tours in 1990 or 2006, I think. Yeah. Like something like that.
Really, yeah, I know. Well, I agree with you 100%. Hair's standing up, and yeah, best band in the world.
Can you tell me what it was like to see that band perform live?
It was insane. It was astonishing and electric, and you just couldn't believe how great it was. And they, the first Minor Threat show was in a living room at a group house when we opened for the Bad Brains.
Is that right?
Yeah, but it was kind of like a hippie house, and it wasn't really advertised. It was like a party.
Yeah.
And I think they played reggae then.
Really?
That was the 1929 Calvert Street, Northwest, Washington, D.C. I'm not great with, I know that was the house.
Is that house still standing?
Yeah, it is still standing.
It should be a fucking museum.
Well, yeah, but there's so many other things that could be museums. I mean, the Bad Brains were just this incredible, it would be where the old 930 Club is, which I think is a J. Crew. That should be the museum.
Is it really a fucking J. Crew?
I know it was. I don't know what it is now. Probably something even worse.
Right.
It's something even less fun. A Warby Parker.
Wow.
It was just, they were the best band by a million miles. First of all, they were men. They were grown men.
Right.
They were incredible musicians.
Yes.
And they had the best drummer and the best guitar player and the best bass player and the best singer.
Right.
And their songs were the best. And it was just so, I mean, I saw them a number of times. I saw them at CBGB's in New York once. That was just life affirming. They were so powerful and their music was so great. I mean, they have so many good songs. They don't have a lot of bad songs.
They have all the good songs.
Fuck. And just, yeah, I'm getting that electricity just talking about it. It's amazing.
There have been many times in my life where I've thought, you know, if I could just be in a band that sounded like a cross between Bad Brains, Jesus Lizard, and Rare Earth, I would be as happy as a pig in shit.
Yeah.
And then there have been other occasions when I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to start a Bad Brains cover band. And then I realized I am not qualified.
You can't. You're not good enough to do that. I'm not either. I can't possibly. Are you fucking kidding me? How can I do that?
Right.
It's impossible. And who's going to sing?
Right.
I mean,
who's going to do any of it? You can't reproduce that.
No, you can't. My whole bass sound, all I wanted to do was be Daryl. Minor Threat, the whole thing was to be Daryl Jennifer. Everything. But I couldn't because he was good and I wasn't. And he had the best. He had his fucking jazz bass. It was just so insane. He was so good. It was just amazing. Just amazing.
I think that I haven't had the opportunity to ask anyone who saw them firsthand. Maybe Duff saw them back then firsthand, you know. He might have even played with them back with his first band.
Duff, did Bad Brains play Seattle?
I think so.
Well, I'm sure he went. He was punk.
Yeah. He had a couple punk rock bands.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, the best band.
Yeah. I don't know Duff. I've met him a few times, briefly. But I think he might have a guitar of mine.
Really?
Yeah. Or did. I think.
Like he stole it?
No. Wait. No. I think I might have one of his. I had a Hamer Sunburst. That's the model name.
Yeah. The double cutaway. I love it.
When I joined Junkyard, I got an endorsement, and I got a silver one and a gold one.
Rad.
And I traded, after a long time had passed, probably by the time the band was over, I traded the silver guitar to a guy named Joey, who was in this band Circle of Soul. And he gave me a Les Paul Standard that I think was Duff's. And it said not for resale on the back. And it was a black Les Paul Standard that he had gotten from Gibson. That was the story.
I'll ask him
if he remembers that.
I'll ask him. Joey from Circle of Soul.
Yeah, Joey just died. Pretty recently. Let me just get his last name. Because that's worth it. That's an interesting discussion. I don't know where, or maybe he gave the silver one. I don't know. I've been alive for so long.
Duff is funny. Duff is like one of the least gear-centric guys that I know. He's like, he's one of these guys that's like an old school guy that never got onto a forum and doesn't know the gauge of strings he plays.
I know why. He's great and he sounds good.
But so do you, and I think some people are just more interested in going down the rabbit hole of details and stuff.
I don't know. I don't know, but he doesn't need to change anything.
Right.
He's it. He's good. I'll email you this guy's name, Joey.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. I'm really upset. I can't remember him right now because he was a cool dude. Really good.
I got the news 10 minutes before we started talking that a friend of mine passed, and today I think he drank himself off the earth, unfortunately.
Yeah.
A lot of people, it seems, I guess it's because we're older, but a lot of people dying.
Well, how old are you? Like 43?
I'm 49.
49. You look great for 49.
Well, I could lay off the ice cream.
Couldn't we all?
Thanks.
Well, the thing about it is, especially with the drinking, where it's just the people who just kind of drink themselves out after it's been a long time, you have to realize that people used to die all the time, like 100 years ago.
Right.
They just die. People die when they're 50. People die when they're 45. You just die. You've just had enough. And if you're really drinking, for decades and decades, you just die.
Yeah.
It's not that. I just don't think it's that. We're just, the modern world, we're used to everybody being 80 and 85.
Right.
Like being president and being 80.
Right.
But think about that in 1901.
No way.
No fucking way.
No way. Your great-granddad didn't live to be that old.
No, my great-grandfather died when he was 64 or something.
My dad died when he was 52, and his dad died when he was 52. That's, 52,
so,
I'm like I'm knocking on 52's door.
I'm not trying to belittle your loss in any way, but just realize it's like, sometimes it's just, I've just seen it. I've known a lot of people I know have died.
Right.
Some usually it's just from it. They just kind of burn it out, even if they weren't, aggressively abusing drugs or alcohol, but just that they're just that kind of that culture just eats them up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm happy. You've got what? How many years now?
8
years and
3 months, something like that. 21st.
You're gonna have a real birthday.
Yeah, I am. I can't wait to hang out with all my friends and celebrate.
Zoom.
Not even. Not even. It's so fucked because it's winter here. It's like I have a really big backyard. So in summer, we could actually get, you could hang out with 6 people because you could really be far from each other. Like, fire pit and a backyard, like a big, and then winters just shut that down. We're just like,
game over.
Can't do anything. No, you can't. You can't have people over.
There's so much snow in my yard right now. I can't even walk in my own yard.
Me too.
My dog's legs aren't even long enough to get to the ground. He's like suspended in the snow.
You chose to live there.
It's true. It's true. It is a lovely place. I swear it is. Man, I really appreciate you taking so much time.
Sure.
I had a great time talking with you.
I had a good time too. It's cool.
You know what I'm going to do?
Edit it down to a reasonable length. For starters.
What kind of a fool do you take me for?
Just capture that magic.
Don't answer that honestly.